Hey everyone, Shane here with etrailer.com. Today I have a 2021 Hyundai Palisade, and I want to walk through how to install the Tow Pro Elite trailer brake controller. Adding a brake controller to your vehicle is going to allow you to pull a trailer with brakes. Maybe you want to buy a small camper or something like that. For a vehicle like this, it's not going to be able to tow a lot, but you may have a tow capacity big enough to tow a trailer that requires brakes on it. Adding a brake controller is going to allow you to control the brakes on the trailer so that the vehicle is not stopping both the trailer and the vehicle. You're not relying on the brakes on the vehicle. It's going to wear them out and you're going to have to replace them later on. So adding a brake controller, again, is going to allow you to control those brakes on that trailer. Now this brake controller, I think, is a great brake controller. I recommend it to a lot of different people that ask about brake controllers. The reason is your typical brake controller is pretty big in size, so it takes up quite a bit of room on your dash and it can only be mounted a certain way. This one has a very small knob on it. So the footprint inside the vehicle is very little, and you can pretty much mount it wherever you want as long as the cable will reach. It is going to be a proportional brake controller, so what that means is when you apply the brakes in the vehicle, trailer brakes are going to match that pressure. Now, that being said, the dial does go from 0 to 10, so if you're wanting to increase the brake pressure on the trailer, you just turn the dial up, and that's going to depend on the load that you're carrying. Now there's also a user mode, and what user mode is for is, let's say you have a load on the back, you're pulling a trailer, and you're coming down a hill, and it's gravel. You don't want the trailer pushing the vehicle. So if you're in user mode, when you apply the brakes on the vehicle, it's going to automatically send that pressure to whatever number you have the dial set at. It's automatically going to apply that pressure to the trailer brakes. Where in proportional mode, whatever number you have it set at, when you apply the brakes in the vehicle, it's going to gradually build to that number. This is our controller. We're going to have an LED light that wraps all the way around it. So basically, at nighttime, if you're using it, this whole clear ring is going to light up. In blue, that's in proportional mode. The numbers here, as I mentioned, are what they're going to be, or what you're going to set for your weight on your trailer. The higher you turn it up, the darker the color is going to get. So if we have it on, let's say 4, and we apply the brake, you'll notice it's kind of a purple color. If we turn it up to 10, it's going to go to red. That means you're getting the maximum amount of braking pressure to your trailer. To put it in user mode, we're going to apply the brake, push the button twice, and it's going to turn to green. That's going to be user mode. Now, as I mentioned, if you notice that light, when we had it on 10, it gradually built to that red color, that dark red. When I apply the brake, it goes immediately to red. This brake controller is going to work with 12 or 24 volt systems, and it's going to work from 1 axle up to 3 axles. Now that we've gone over some of the features, let's walk you through how to get it installed. To start your installation, it is going to require wiring. So you want to make sure you pick up your 4-pole wiring for your vehicle. You can find that through a fit guide for your vehicle. Also, it's going to require an ETBC7. Now, on this particular one, we actually installed a stealth hitch, and this particular stealth hitch that this customer got came with the wiring, so it plugs in right here. And on the stealth hitch, it actually has your power and your brake signal wire. So in the ETBC7 kit, it's going to come with jacketed wire, or like this. It's going to have a black and white wire in it. If you're just installing the ETBC7, it's going to come with a 7-pole, and you'll connect the black and white wire to the black and blue wire on the back of the 7-pole. White wire will go to the blue, black wire is going to go to the black. That's what's going to give your 7-pole power. However, as I mentioned, this wiring kit comes with the black and blue already connected, so that's what we did here. We'll get this ran up to the front of the vehicle. What I did is I went over the top of my rear axle. You just want to make sure when routing, you're staying away from anything hot or moving. Come over to this side of my fuel tank. This panel, it's a cardboard panel that runs from here up to the front axle. On the inside, you have some 10mm bolts. Take those out, pull this down, you can tuck your wire up inside. You came out right here, you can see I zip tied it right to that hard line. Now what we can do is I can go up top and I'll take an airline tube or something that I can stick down through there. I can attach the end of my wire to it and pull it up. Now we've got our wire pulled up. I went ahead and zip tied it to this factory wire to keep it up taut so it doesn't fall back down. Now what we need to do is we need to split this and separate our black and our white wire. Next we're going to install these circuit breakers. You're going to get 3 of them. You're going to get a 20 amp, 30 amp, and 40 amp. For this brake controller, we're going to be installing the 30 and the 40 amp. The 40 amp is going to be for the power wire, which is our black wire, going to our battery. Our 30 amp is going to be the power going inside. It's going to be connected to the brake controller. You'll notice that there's 2 different color posts. You have a copper color post and a silver post. The copper post always runs to the battery. Silver post runs inside the vehicle. We're going to take a couple of self-tappers. We're actually going to mount them right in here. Mount one here, and we can mount one down over here. And with our black wire, we're going to go to the 40 amp fuse as I mentioned earlier. What I did is I routed it down and I ran it underneath this bracket here. We're going to cut it to length, add on our small ring terminal, and it onto the silver post. And we're going to take our extra length of black wire. We're going to trim back one end, ring terminal, add it onto the copper post, and we're going to take this extra here that we just connected. We're going to route it over to the positive post at the battery, which is going to be right here. Cut it to size. We're going to add on the larger ring terminal that comes in your kit. We're not going to make the connection to the battery just yet. We're going to take our white wire. We're going to cut it to size. The one that's in the duplex or in the coating with the black wire, we're going to take that in and we're going to run it through Grommet inside the to the inside of the vehicle. We're going to take the other part of the wire. We're going to add on a small ring terminal and we're going to add it onto the silver post on our 30 amp fuse holder. We're going to take it and we're going to route it in with the other one to connect to our brake controller. The one coming from the back of the vehicle that's in the gray duplex or the gray coating with the black wire. This is going to be our brake signal wire. So if you need to find a way to mark it so you know which one is which, you can do that. So to get our wire inside, there's going to be a rubber grommet. You have your brake booster. To the right of it, there is factory wiring that's running in to the inside of the vehicle. It's a good idea to maybe have 2 people. Start from the inside, and you'll see a bundle of wire, which I'll show you here in a second, going into right behind the brake pedal. You can take a small screwdriver, poke a hole where it goes all the way through. Take an airline tube from the inside and push it out through the 2 holes. You want to make sure you're going through the inner grommet and outer grommet. Push a hole through the whole thing, run your airline tube through it, have somebody out here that can grab a hold of it. And we'll tape our wires on. And tape them one at a time. There, it makes it a little bit easier, less chance of it getting snagged. And we're going to pull it through that hole so we can connect it to our brake controller inside the vehicle. Next, we need to try to remove this panel right here. You're going to have a Phillips head screw here, which has a little cap. Just pop that cap down and then pull this weather stripping back. This just snaps into place. You're going to pop it off. You're going to have a screw here and a screw down here in this corner. Now to pop off your handle for your hood release, it's got 4 little clips that will slide up inside and then they kind of feather out and hook on that little lip inside there. The easiest way to do it is I'm using a 5/8 socket, or 5/16, I'm sorry, and I'll push it inside that hole, and what it does is it squeezes those 4 clips together and then you can pop this off. We're going to pop this off. We're going to disconnect the plug right here on the back side. We'll just let that hang like that for now. Now what we need to do is we need to determine the wire we need to be using off our brake light switch. We follow our brake pedal arm up. You're going to see a connector. It's going to have 5 or 6 wires coming out of it. We're looking for the green wire with the black stripe. Easiest way to find to do this. Now, I'm a little bit big and it's a little bit of a pain to get down in there. So what I did is follow the wire back, and there's a little plastic connector holder that's holding it into the bracket for the brake pedal arm. If you pop that out or cut the zip tie on it, it gives you a little extra length where you can pull it out kind of down here at the bottom. Strip back the tape that's on it. You can unplug it when you strip it back. You're going to have to plug it back in when you test it. I suggest testing it just to make sure that you have the right one. But we're going to go ahead, you're not going to be able to see much, we're going to go ahead and test you so you kind of see what I'm talking about here. What we're looking for the wire. It only gets power when the brake is applied. So this is my wire right here. Again, green wire with the black stripe. To unplug it, you're going to push this little tab right here. And where this is if you find your brake pedal, then go straight up from it. That's where this is. It's plugged on the front side of the brake pedal arm. So now that we know which one it is, we're going to add a quick splice connector, which we'll show you here in a few minutes. We need to mount our brake controller main unit. This needs to be mounted on something solid. It can be mounted in any orientation, anywhere underneath your dash. It just has to be mounted something solid. You want to make sure you're not zip tying it to factory wiring. What I'm going to do is right here on this post, because my wire for my brake signal is right here. I'm going to mount it right on this post. Just want to make sure we're going to not interfere with the airbag itself. So what I suggest is take the plug that comes in the kit, go ahead and plug it in the bottom like this. These are the 4 wires that we're going to be connecting to the wires we ran in and to our brake signal wire. And then you're going to have a wire that looks like this that's going to run over to the back of your switch. Go ahead and plug that in. And we're going to basically test fit it and make sure it's going to fit in there. Kind of look at it, make sure, 1, we can get it mounted, 2, that it's not going to interfere with the airbag again. Looks like once I throw me a couple self-tappers in there, I think that will work out pretty good. I got my wire ran over here. Now we can go ahead and start making our connections for the wires that we ran inside into our brake signal. Red wire from this plug goes to our brake light circuit, which is a green wire with the black stripe that we tested earlier. We're going to add a quick splice connector to it. Our other wire is going to go into the other side of the quick splice connector. And then we have a blue, black, and white. The white one coming off our controller is going to be ground. Blue one, again, is going to go to the wire that we ran in coming from the back of the vehicle, or coming from our 7-pole that is connected to the blue wire in the back. And I've got all my wires connected. Any extra wire, you just can tuck it up in there, zip tie it to some factory wiring. Make sure you stay away from where the steering arm knuckle is, where it turns, so it doesn't get caught. I've got this wire ran over, which is going to connect into the back of my switch. I'm going to go ahead and reinstall this front panel here. Now we're going to do our hole for our actual control knob. It's little. However, on the back side of this, there's usually a sticker that tells you where your fuses are for your panel. Rather than me drilling a hole in there, messing up that sticker, which everything on there is probably in your owner's manual as well, what I did is I pulled the sticker off and I actually mounted it, or actually just inserted it right here and stuck it right on the front of this plastic piece behind the dash. That way, if need be, you can reach in, you can pull it off, or you can pretty much see anything in there that'll tell you where the fuses are on the panel. We don't have to worry about it getting damaged. Now let's take this and go drill our hole and get our switch installed. This is the cover that it comes with, one of the covers, so we have 2 ways of doing it. We can mount this here. You have to drill a pretty big hole. This is actually designed for like a dummy switch. on your dash. If you have one, you pop that cover out and you pop this one right into its place. Or we can just drill the hole big enough for this to go through, and then we'll take this, it'll go on the outside, and that's what will hold it tight up against this panel. Put that on, and take this, get it through the hole, tighten that down, then our knob. So, if you can hear that click, you want to be able to do that, because that's your manual override. If you can't do that, you need to tighten this nut down a little bit more. I've got it actually pretty tight on there, so I think I'm good. Go ahead and plug it in. Reinstall our panel. And then we have one more connection to do, and that is the extra white wire that we had. We got to run from our 30 amp over to our battery. 13 millimeter socket. We remove the nut on our positive post on our battery. Go ahead and make our connections. Once you get it connected, you can test it out and make sure everything's working correctly. Now that we have everything connected, to test it out, we're going to push our override. We're going to push it. You can see the blue LED light. That means we have power. Once you get that, next thing you need to do is you need to follow the instructions for taking it out and calibrating the main unit that you mounted underneath the dash. Now we'll test that everything out from our 7-pole plug. Left turn, right turn, brake lights, running lights, brakes from our brake controller. Now we've tested everything out, we know it's working correctly, you're ready to go. It's going to do it for a look at and installation on the Redarc Tow Pro Elite brake controller on a 2021 Hyundai Palisade.